Hyperinflation crippled the nation. The value of the German mark plummeted and people lost their life savings. There was widespread unemployment and poverty. The social fabric of Germany was torn apart, and political instability added to the chaos. Historian the Weimar Republic, Germany's new democratic government, was weak and ineffective. It struggled to maintain order. The German people yearned for stability and leadership. The social and economic turmoil created fertile ground for extremist ideologies. People were desperate for solutions and were willing to listen to anyone who promised a better future. Right-wing nationalist groups emerged, blaming the Weimar Republic for Germany's humiliation. They also blamed Jews and other minorities, promising to restore Germany to its former glory. However, the party found its voice as Germany's economic and political situation worsened. The Nazi Party offered simplistic solutions to complex problems, appealing to people's emotions rather than their reason. The party's propaganda was highly effective. Historian the Nazis' message resonated with many Germans. It offered a sense of hope in a time of despair. They promised to restore Germany to greatness, appealed to national pride, and pledged to create jobs and rebuild the military. The Nazi Party's ideology was a toxic mix of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and anti-communism. They blamed Jews for Germany's economic woes and communists for the political instability. They promised to create a new Germany that would be strong, prosperous, and free from the shackles of the Treaty of Versailles. He appealed to their fears and prejudices, promising them a glorious future under his leadership. Hitler's rise to power was swift and strategic. The Nazi Party exploited the weaknesses of the Weimar Republic, using violence and intimidation against their opponents. Historian the Sturmabteilung, also known as the Brown Shirts, acted as the party's paramilitary wing, terrorizing political opponents and disrupting their meetings. The Nazis' popularity surged during the Great Depression. The economic crisis of the early 1930s devastated Germany, with millions unemployed. People lost faith in the Weimar Republic and turned to the Nazi Party for salvation. In the 1932 federal elections, the Nazis became the largest party in the Reichstag, Germany's parliament. On January 30th, 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg appointed Adolf Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. This event marked a turning point in German history, signaling the end of the Weimar Republic and the beginning of the Nazi dictatorship. Survivor. Hitler moved swiftly to consolidate his power. He exploited the Reichstag fire, which occurred on February 27, 1933, to suspend civil liberties. He blamed the fire on the communists and used this as a pretext to arrest his political opponents. The Enabling Act, passed by the Reichstag in March 1933, granted Hitler dictatorial powers. He no longer needed the approval of the Reichstag to pass laws. Germany was now a totalitarian state. Survivor, the Nazi Party took control of all aspects of German life. They banned all other political parties, dissolved trade unions, and censored the media. Hitler's secret police, the Gestapo, instilled fear in the population. The Gestapo was responsible for silencing any form of dissent, using torture, imprisonment, and murder to maintain control. The Nazis established concentration camps to imprison political opponents, Jews, and other groups deemed undesirable. The first concentration camp was established in Dachau in 1933. At the core of Nazi ideology lay a deeply rooted racism. This racism was directed primarily at Jews, but also at Roma, Sinti, Slavs, and Black people. The Nazis' racial ideology was based on the pseudo-scientific theory of Aryan supremacy. Aryans were considered the master race. Jews were considered a parasitic race. The Nazis blamed Jews for Germany's defeat in World War I. They accused them of controlling the world's finances. The Nuremberg Laws, passed in 1935, stripped Jews of their German citizenship. Jewish businesses were boycotted. Synagogues were desecrated and destroyed. Kristallnacht marked a significant escalation in the Nazi persecution of Jews. It foreshadowed the horrors to come. The Holocaust stands as the most horrific manifestation of Nazi ideology. It was the systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its collaborators. The Holocaust was a genocide. Survivor, The Nazis used various methods to murder Jews. They used gas chambers, shooting squads, and death marches. They also worked Jews to death in forced labor camps. The Holocaust was a crime against humanity. It was an act of barbarism that shocked the world. It is a stark reminder of the dangers of hatred, prejudice, and indifference. The Nazis established extermination camps for the sole purpose of murdering Jews. These camps were located in occupied Poland. The most notorious were Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, and Sobibor. Jews from all over Nazi-occupied Europe were deported to these camps. They were murdered upon arrival. Survivor. The Holocaust was a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. It left an indelible scar on the world. It is a stark reminder of the fragility of civilization. It also serves as a warning against the dangers of extremism and intolerance. Section 7. Nazi Germany's march to war, expansion and conquest. Hitler's ambitions went far beyond persecuting minorities within Germany's borders. He sought to expand Germany's territory and create a vast empire in Europe. He believed that Germany needed more living space, or Lebensraum. Hitler's foreign policy was aggressive and expansionist. In 1936, Hitler remilitarized the Rhineland. In March 1938, Hitler annexed Austria. This event is known as the Anschluss. He demanded the annexation of the Sudetenland. The Munich Agreement ceded the Sudetenland to Germany. However, Hitler's appetite for conquest was far from satiated. In March 1939, he invaded and occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia. These aggressive actions alarmed the world. Section 8. Life under Nazi rule, propaganda, conformity, and resistance. Life under Nazi rule was marked by a pervasive atmosphere of fear, conformity, and propaganda. The Nazi Party controlled all aspects of German society. They used propaganda to indoctrinate the population with their ideology. German citizen Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi Minister of Propaganda, was a master of manipulation. He used radio, film, newspapers, and public rallies to spread the Nazi message. The Nazis glorified war, violence, and obedience to the Führer. They promoted a cult of personality around Hitler. They portrayed him as a messianic figure destined to lead Germany to greatness. Children were indoctrinated with Nazi ideology from a young age. They were forced to join the Hitler Youth or the League of German Girls. They were taught to be loyal to the Führer and to hate Jews and other enemies of the state. The Nazis also used terror and violence to maintain control. The Gestapo, the secret police, operated with impunity. They arrested and tortured anyone suspected of opposition to the regime. German citizen. Despite the risks, some Germans resisted the Nazi regime. They formed underground resistance groups. They distributed anti-Nazi leaflets. They helped Jews escape persecution. Section 9. The Fall of the Third Reich, Defeat and its Aftermath. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, marking the beginning of World War II. The invasion of Poland triggered a global conflict that would last for 6 long years. Germany's initial military successes were attributed to its blitzkrieg tactics. American journalist Blitzkrieg, or Lightning War, involved rapid, coordinated attacks using tanks, planes, and infantry. German forces overran Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France in quick succession. However, Germany's fortunes changed as the war progressed. The invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941 proved to be a costly mistake. The German army faced fierce resistance from the Soviet people. The war on the Eastern Front became a brutal war of attrition. The tide turned decisively against Germany in 1943. The Allied forces, led by the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union, began to liberate Nazi-occupied Europe. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered unconditionally to the Allies. World War II was over. Nazi Germany lay in ruins. Millions of people had perished in the conflict. The Holocaust had left an indelible scar on humanity. Section 10. Remembering the Past. Lessons from Nazi Germany. The rise and fall of Nazi Germany stands as a stark warning from history. It teaches us the dangers of nationalism, racism, anti-Semitism, and the abuse of power. It highlights the importance of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Young student. It is our duty to remember the victims of Nazi tyranny. We must never forget the horrors of the Holocaust We must learn from the mistakes of the past. We must be vigilant in our defense of freedom and tolerance. We must never allow such atrocities to happen again. Only by understanding the past can we hope to build a better future.